Agriculture has played an important part in developing our communities and served as significant progress to humankind. And thanks to humans' natural curiosity, we managed to find new ways to farm better and produce more crops, which are, of course, aided by technology and backed by science. Some of these well-known products are the seedless fruits we enjoy every day. What's up, guys? How are you holding up these days? Welcome back to our channel, where the topic of today's video is hybrid farming. We will discuss if there is such a thing as a hybrid farm and everything you need to know about this curious subject. One more thing before we get to that, kindly leave a thumbs up in today's video, and while you're at it, subscribe to our channel with the notification bell on so you won't miss out on our newest uploads. The science and history behind hybrid farming. As we all know, the science of cultivating plants and farming is called agriculture, for the growth of crops and the rearing of animals to provide food, wool, and other products. It's hard to pinpoint the exact time agriculture was discovered by humans, but it's known to have sprouted in several places in the world, with different methods depending on the climate, soil, and location. The father of evolution, Charles Darwin, began the hybrid revolution by proposing that species of plants and animals will change over time. He claimed these changes and mutations were essential for the species to survive, so the traits in a species were then more likely to be passed on to the next generation. Around the same time, a man named Gregory Mendel discovered crossbreeding different strains of pea plants, and in doing so, he could predict the traits of its offspring. Mendel proposed that there was a genetic basis for inherited traits and demonstrated that he could control them. Mendel's works, however, did not draw much interest and were therefore forgotten until his work was rediscovered, and thus the science of plant breeding began. The significance of corn and hybrid plants. Plant hybrids would not exist today if not for one of the most in-demand products we have today, corn. Looking at it simply, people would often take this plant for granted, but it has played a significant role in cross-pollination and is one of the most cross-pollinated products there is. One of the redeeming characteristics of corn is that it efficiently transforms energy from the sun into stored chemical energy in its seeds. The first commercial seed corn company to try to take advantage of hybrid vigor was Pioneer Hybrids, founded in Des Moines, Iowa in 1926. Pioneer Hybrids was founded by a farmer named Henry A. Wallace, who was also an editor for a national farm journal. Despite his influence, the company was on the verge of bankruptcy in 1927 and also during the Depression back in 1932. But hybrid varieties proved to be so much better than open pollinated. Those pollinated by pollen blowing in the wind, varieties that Pioneer and a host of other seed companies caused to thrive despite the Depression. What are hybrid plants? A hybrid plant is a result of cross-pollinating two different plant varieties and growing the seed the mix produces. The plant that grows from that seed combination is called a hybrid. Commercial cross-planting is done to get some type of valued attribute of each initial variety into the offspring. Hybrids might be developed for disease resistance, size of plant, flower, or fruit, increased flowering, color, taste, or any reason a plant might be considered special. One of the first things the plant scientists noticed when they began crossing different pure lines was that the hybrid plants were usually more vigorous than their parents. The simple act of crossing different strains resulted in higher yields and stronger plants. They had discovered hybrid vigor. Hybrid vigor is so powerful that scientists began double crossing. Two inbred parents, A and B, are crossed at the same time that two other inbred parents, C and D, are crossed. The resulting hybrids, AB and CD, are then crossed together to produce a hybrid with the characteristics of all four parents, A, B, C, D. In addition, the new ABCD variety has two generations of hybrid vigor bred into it. This method of double-crossing hybrids was used almost exclusively from 1926 until the 1960s. Then scientists developed better inbred lines and found they could get a good result with a single cross. List of popular hybrid plants. Sweet corn. Of course, included in this list is the famous sweet corn. The vast majority of U.S. corn grown are hybrid varieties. The characteristics of these varieties have made it easier for home gardeners to grow, and they are sweeter than past crops. Lilies. Next, we have lilies. Hybrid lilies can easily be grown as potted plants when grown in the right medium with proper light and watering. Hybrid lilies are classified as Asiatic hybrids and Oriental hybrids. Oriental hybrid lilies have large 6 to 8 inch, fragrant, pink, red, purple, or white flowers. The flowers of the Asiatic hybrids are smaller and usually have no fragrance. Meyer lemon trees. Also included in this list are Meyer lemon trees, which originated from China. These lemons are a cross between a true lemon tree and a mandarin orange tree. The fruit is much sweeter than traditional lemons, which makes this variety a favorite of gardeners and chefs alike. Better Boy tomatoes. Better Boy tomatoes are grown to defy the common tomato plant problems, so they're resistant to verticillium wilt, fusarium wilt, and nematodes. Gardeners and tomato lovers favor the large, bright red fruit, which can weigh up to 1 pound and mature within 75 25 days of seedlings being transplanted into the ground. Rabbage. A cross between a radish and a cabbage, the rabbage was developed successfully to self-propagate by a Soviet agronomist named Georgy Dmitrievich Karpachenko in the 1910s and 20s. Pomato. We also have a crossbreed between a potato and a tomato, which results in the pomato. It is a small tomato-like fruit with white flesh, edible either raw or cooked. The pomato plant produces tomatoes on the top and potatoes underground. Tangelo. Next we have Tangelo, which is a hybrid fruit blending orange and tangerine. It is commonly characterized by a citrusy aroma that is overly refreshing. The great notable feature of this invented fruit is that it can easily be peeled due to the presence of loose skin. Tangelo comes in two popular varieties, Orlando and Mineola. The first selection has a special zesty smell, big size, and moderately a round shape. Speaking of texture, it is unbelievably juicy. Yuzu. A yuzu is a hybrid citrus fruit that's quite popular in East Asian countries like Japan and South Korea. Otherwise known as Citrus junos, it has a heavy aromatic smell, yellow skin with uneven surface, and its size is relatively small. The fruits are produced by an upright tree loaded with big thorns, and their dark green leaves go with expansive petioles. It has a close relation to the strongly scented Japanese citrus, namely sudachi. Is there such a thing as hybrid farming? Hybrid farms exist and, as said before, are deemed essential for production companies to provide crops and stocks for the people. If not for these hybrid farms, the world will be riddled with hunger and famine. Several steps are taken to hybridize a plant. For the initial crossing, pollen from one plant is transferred to the flower of another variety. Before doing so, the breeder must decide which plant they want to use as the female, otherwise called the pistil, and which they want to take pollen from the stamen or the male parts. The pistil is then pollinated manually with the pollen. To prevent the plants from self-pollinating, all the stamens must be removed from the plants that are going to be pollinated. The fruits that form because of this cross-pollination are harvested and the seeds are kept. Hybridizing plants take years to perform to get the desired results, but hybridization does not only occur inside labs and is done by human hands. Mother Nature has its way of making hybrids with the help of several insects or the wind. The resulting seed simply falls on the soil and grows into a hybrid. Few of the flowers and vegetables we grow today are in their original wild form. Advantages and disadvantages of hybridizing plants and crops. Like all things, hybridizing plants and crops also has its pros and cons, which breeders take into consideration every time they start their crops. For starters, hybrid plants have up to a 25% higher yields. They are uniform physically and show faster growth, which is beneficial for the farmers. They have more vigor and are more resistant to a variety of diseases and illnesses such as viruses, bacteria, fungi, and nematode infestation. They are preferred for their characteristics like efficient photosynthesis, production of plant nodules, and increased ability to hold water. A major advantage of hybridization in plants occurs when a new species is discovered. On the downside, hybridization is quite expensive, mainly because they take longer to develop and are a hassle to produce. The main disadvantage of hybrid seed, especially for smallholder or resource-poor farmers, is that they do not perform to the same standards when their seed is saved for future plantings. That is, hybrid plants in the second generation are usually much lower yielding, have less vigor, and are quite variable in their physical characteristics. And with that, we're concluding today's episode about the topic of hybrid farming. Hopefully you learned a lot in today's video as well as enjoyed it. Before you go, don't forget to click the like button and subscribe to our channel with the notification bell on so you won't miss any of our new releases. Thanks for watching today's video, and we'll see you in the next one.